Now I want to introduce a really incredible individual who's doing some amazing work. This is the CEO of the Forward Party. Please get up for Lindsey Williams Drath.
Thank you. Good morning. I know I think I'm in between y'all and lunch, but I think there's some good music to come after this. So I want to start. My name is Lindsey Williams Drath. I'm the CEO of the Forward Party. We are a new political party in the United States of America. I'm going to talk a little bit today. Allie was discussing a movement. Chris has talked about a movement. I'm going to talk a little bit about why are we doing this as a political party. We know that we're a movement of people. Why do we at Forward feel that it's important for us to build the infrastructure of a political party to deploy this work through? And I want to start by acknowledging Jackie Salet, who was on the stage earlier today with our friend John Updike from Open Primaries. So much of the work that we are doing and the building we're doing at Forward is predicated on Jackie's learnings and her experiences. And I want to acknowledge Jackie and thank her for her leadership in this space. I also want to acknowledge Dave Ryan, who might be in here or out at the booth for the Colorado Forward Party. There's Dave. Dave's the chair of the Colorado Forward Party. We do have ballot access here in the state of Utah. You can register as a Forwardist here in the state of Utah, and if you are in Colorado, and we hope that if you are a Colorado resident, that you will do that. And we do have ballot access in Utah as well. So this morning, as I mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about why and how, our how and our why. And why we are all gathered here today, and then how we feel that we can actually accomplish our real goals. And if you are here, you likely share a collective why. Allie just talked about it, Christopher talked about it, and that is how are we going to achieve a government that is transparent, accountable, and participatory? We all know that an entrenched two-party system has locked out competition to our political process. Lack of competition and application of extreme litmus tests have resulted in a government that doesn't represent the interests of the majority of Americans. And what's worse, they have deliberately architected it this way. So much so that actually in 39% of American states, it's actually not even a two-party system. They have single-party rule. If you are here and you share our why, you know that that leaves the biggest issues of our generation unaddressed. Healthcare, immigration, education, affordable housing. Our elected officials in a two-party system refuse to address it. In July of 2022, just over 2 years ago, 3 organizations in our collective movement came together with a shared why, and they aligned on their how. Andrew Yang, who many of you all know, had formed a group called the Forward Party. The Forward Party was a new political party, and their mission was to advance a movement of people and elected officials to pass nonpartisan structural democracy reforms. A group called Renew America Movement was led by friends like Evan McMullin and former Republican Governor Christine Todd Whitman, she was also former head of the EPA. Their how was creating a home for disaffected Republicans and never Trump Republicans to hold a mirror up to MAGA extremism. A group called the Serve America Movement was led by a former Republican member of Congress named David Jolly. And their how was to disrupt the duopoly by creating a new political party, and they achieved ballot access and ran candidates in New York and Connecticut. Those 3 organizations came together and merged, and they aligned on their collective how to accomplish the why. And the how is to disrupt the two-party system by building a new party that can compete on the same playing field. I know that many of you in this room do not like the idea of a political party. If Americans overwhelmingly are leaving the two-party system, we're looking 51% of Americans now registered as independents and unaffiliated voters. Why do we think that you should join Forward, and why are we advancing a new political party? I don't know if any of you all read Kat Rosenfield. She wrote in a piece this week, "The tragedy of our descent into tribalism isn't just that it makes us into useful idiots for powerful, terrible people of all political persuasions. It's that it traps us in a stunted place, a perpetual adolescence in which we substitute having the right politics for having a personality, in which we can't even articulate who we are without an enemy to define ourselves against. If hate is a shelter, it is also a cage, an intellectual and ideological Hotel California that offers protection from the elements, but also keeps us from growing or going anywhere. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. What if we built a new political home, an inclusive home that welcomed intellectual curiosity, that led with humanity and civility, that shuns the extremes? What if we built it not as a cage that Kat describes, but as a coalition of millions of aligned Americans? That is what we are doing at Forward. We are excited to continue to seek opportunities for alignment and mergers around the country, just as our founding 3 organizations did. In South Carolina, we merged with a group called the South Carolina Independence Party that had created a home for Black independent voters in South Carolina. We merged and have ballot access there. In Utah right now, while we have ballot access, we have a slate of candidates that's representative of a whole host of different political parties. In fact, we're particularly excited about our candidate for Attorney General, Michelle Quist, who's running on the ballot line for the United Utah Party. Thank you for Michelle Quist. Yes, she's amazing. Our how recognizes practicalities in our current political system, and the fact that the more powerful that the independent and third-party movement becomes, the more the two-party system raises the barrier for entry. As Jackie reminded us, we must be practical in order to be competitive. Under the current system with only 2 major political parties, it is almost impossible for strong, solutions-oriented leaders to be elected. In states currently, due to primary structures and financial incentives written by the legacy parties, it is impossible for independent and third-party candidates to get on the ballot. In Arizona, the legacy parties changed the rules in 2015 to make it 23 times harder for independents and minority parties to get on the ballot. In New York, the legacy parties did much the same in 2020 when they tripled the signature requirement for access, knocking the Libertarians, the Green Party, and the Independence parties off of the ballot. In fact, one of our legacy parties that we merged with, SAM, experienced that. They had done the work, they had collected the signatures, and guess what? The Republicans and the Democrats changed the rules of the game as soon as we became competitive. And what happens when someone does break through? What happens when an independent leader makes great progress? John and Jackie were talking about Ross Perot. Mike Bloomberg spent millions of dollars building data sets, identifying independent voters, and working to understand what motivates us. Where did it all go? Independent candidates this cycle, like Dan Osborne, Shalane Etchison in North Carolina, Greg Kidd in Nevada, these are the best of the best in terms of candidates. We have incredible people who are giving of their time, their treasure, their reputations, their families to run for office as independents. They are self-funding. They are doing it with no infrastructure. They had to start from scratch regarding donor lists, voter lists, and talent acquisition. Dan Osborne's field director is out there. What does it look like to recruit real talent to run the campaigns of these independents? How can we give professional political operatives a sense of security to say, leave the two-party system, join us in our movement? We have to prove to them that they have career security in order to do that. Our collective how at Forward, how we look to achieve a functional and representative government that puts the power back in the hands of the voter, one that allows for competition and innovation and eschews the extremes, is to scale an inclusive new political party. A new political party can foundationally scale these key elements necessary for the independent and third-party movement to win. I argue today that as if we are going to scale as a coalition, it is critical that we come together to scale lasting infrastructure to support the candidates that represent our collective principles and values. We can do this without creating the cage that Kat writes about. We can create real, lasting change for this country. I hope you will join us. Come to forwardparty.com.